It is Wednesday, the 12th of September 2018. Think back 10 years and the financial crisis was starting. It was around about this time when Lehman Brothers went bust, and it was like a contagion right throughout the financial system throughout the world, and bailouts of banks with astronomical sums of money became commonplace, and it was a horrifying situation. And we'd had an economy up till then, in fact it still is, that's run on debt. It was mainly consumer debt, but also debt in terms of house prices being way over what they needed to be, and people mortgaging well beyond their ability to repay them. And it was an era of totally reckless lending by financial institutions and customers who were quite happy to be reckless in their borrowing. So it created a monumental crash and a recession that was the deepest since the 1930s. I'm not entirely sure whether we have whether we've learnt all the lessons of that period. We still have payday loans at 1,200% interest. We have people encouraged to take out debt. People are encouraged in terms of living in a home. They've got to be a homeowner. If you're not a homeowner, you're somehow second class. And too many people still live on credit. For those like me who believe that you have to live sustainably, and that's just not just an environmental sustainability, it's an economic sustainability as well, then the model that we have for an economy is not one that works, or certainly doesn't work properly. At the end of the day, I probably still would describe myself as a capitalist. But capitalism needs constraints. It needs regulation. And at the moment, there's some regulation there, but the history of a decade ago would suggest that we've still got some way to go to tame the beast and make sure it's working properly, because it's been quite clear over the past 10 years with the rise of extremism, Trump in America, the far right in elections as recently as Sweden over the weekend, that we've still got a long way to go in terms of restoring politics to what it used to be. Anyway, right, talking politics, I've just arrived at the Civic Centre and it's group meeting. It's the group meeting that we have 8 days before full council to decide on motions. I'm not aware of any group member who wants to put in a motion, and frankly I wouldn't be too unhappy if no motions were put forward. But we'll see what the group has to say about that. Right, meeting over. We came very close to having a motion, but in the end we decided not to put one in. So that should hopefully keep the meeting relatively short next week at full council. Anyway, about to go up to Wickham, but I've got to say, before I do, this is my final political comment of the day, which is that 2 years ago when the referendum went for Brexit, I thought at that point that the Tories might put their differences behind them and unite around the fact that there was a referendum result, some Tories didn't like it, majority did, but the Tory party in the past was always one for sort of holding together. But they seem to be doing a fantastic job at tearing themselves apart about it. But there is this talk about a challenge to Theresa May, and I don't think it'll happen. I think she will still be leader, at least until we know what the Brexit outcome is. And if it's a hard Brexit, if the Chequers deal gets kicked out, then I suspect the days of Theresa May are numbered. But if some kind of cobbled together compromise deal goes through and is not a hard Brexit, then she will survive. But I don't think any challenge to her now is going to win, to bring her down. But the news at the minute is just wall-to-wall coverage of the Tories fighting each other. It's quite shocking in a way, because they're actually the government. So, what a mess.